Hello, my name is Matt and this is Pixel Burn, where I take a look at some of the more important, interesting or even irritating things to have happened in gaming news this week. Or at least as much as I could, given I spent most of this week coughing my lungs up and then poking them back inside my body with the handle of a wooden spoon. Much of gaming news this week was dominated by Nintendo, albeit for all the wrong reasons. The biggest in sheer business terms being their reported operating losses of 46.4 billion yen, or $457 million for the last fiscal year, as well as significantly lower than expected sales of the Wii U. Back in January, Nintendo revised its sales expectations of the Wii U downwards, from a confident 9 million units to a significantly more modest 2.8 million, a cut of over 2/3. Unfortunately, Nintendo couldn't even hit this new target, with reported sales for the Wii U in 2013 being a woeful 2.72 million. Compare and contrast this to the PS4, which has sold 7 million units in just over 6 months, and the Xbox One, which has sold around 5 million. As of March 31st this year, the Wii U has sold a grand total of 6.17 million worldwide since its release in November 2012. The 3DS has fared significantly better, shifting 12.7 million units, although even that is still below the 13.5 million sales figure Nintendo predicted, a figure that was originally 18 million before Nintendo reined in their expectations like they did with the Wii U, and yet the 3DS still managed to almost hit 2/3 of that original lofty goal, compared to the measly 1/3 the Wii U managed. Needless to say, things are looking a little bit dismal for old Ninty. They're nowhere near dead yet, not by a long shot, but that's kind of like saying a stampeding elephant riddled with bullet holes technically isn't dead. I'm not saying we should start digging a grave for it, but maybe we should perhaps start seriously considering actually buying some shovels, or hiring the bagger 288. In spite of this woeful performance, however, Nintendo remain optimistic, some might say delusional, and are looking to ship 3.6 million Wii U's between now and 2015, pinning their hopes on Mario Kart 8 and Super Smash Bros. To pull their proverbial fat from the fire, or pandering to their dwindling hardcore fan base, as I like to call it myself, instead of, reaching out to a wider, more diverse audience with games that don't all have a fat plumber in them. Which brings us quite nicely to the controversy surrounding Tomodachi Life, a Sims-esque life simulator in which you sort of play mini games and well, it's probably best if I just show you, really.
This is my bear. Mine.
Of all the many mad and wonderful things you can do in Tomodachi Life, however, one thing you cannot do is have your virtual representation, or me as they're called, marry another person's virtual representation of the same gender. The island setting of Tomodachi Life doesn't even recognise the possibility, putting it behind even the US state of Utah, which at the very least recognises same-sex partnerships if only for tax purposes. Tomodachi Island wasn't always so repressive, however. A glitch in the original Japanese release allowed two male characters to not only marry each other, but also get each other pregnant, in a glorious defiance of all the laws of nature. This didn't extend to female characters, however, and Nintendo swiftly fixed the offending behaviour in a subsequent update. Said update was a whole other can of worms I'm not going to open here, except to show you this line from the patch notes. In response to a social media campaign asking for same-sex marriage to be put in, Nintendo made the following statement. The relationship options in the game represent a playful alternate world rather than a real-life simulation. We hope that all of our fans will see that Tomodachi Life was intended to be a whimsical and quirky game, and that we were absolutely not trying to provide social commentary. Except, the social commentary that comes from not even acknowledging that homosexual people exist. To their credit, however, Nintendo have since come out, no pun intended, pledging to include same-sex relationships in any future Tomodachi titles. We apologise for disappointing many people by failing to include same-sex relationships in Tomodachi Life. Unfortunately, it is not possible for us to change this game's design, and such a significant development change can't be accomplished with a post-ship patch. We pledge that if we create a next instalment in the Tomodachi series, we will strive to design a gameplay experience from the ground up that is more inclusive and better represents all players. The keyword here, of course, being the whopping great if. Future installments will entirely depend on how well the game sells, and if Nintendo are even inclined to make any more after this kerfuffle. It would be a tremendous shame if they didn't, however. Tomodachi Life is precisely the sort of fresh, bold and bonkers stuff Nintendo should be making more of. Over a period of 8 years, the original Wii has sold over 101 million units. Nintendo didn't achieve that by pandering solely to its die-hard fan base with yet another bloody Mario game, or yet another bloody Zelda game. Releasing more broadly appealing games like Tomodachi Life and having them be more inclusive won't magically turn the company's fortunes around either, but it would be a bloody good start. On the topic of monolithic Japanese corporations, the details of Sony's conference at E3 this year were supposedly leaked to gaming news site DualShockers this week by an anonymous source. Assuming it's an actual leak and not just some tidbit authorised by Sony higher-ups in order to build hype, it certainly makes for some interesting reading. Some of it does, at least. There are more than a few things in there I honestly couldn't give two fucks about. Like a 3-minute trailer for Uncharted 4 showcasing in-engine footage, that's PR talk for cutscenes by the way, interspersed with actual gameplay and sporting a release date of summer of 2015. According to DualShockers' anonymous source, its visuals will be unprecedented and set a benchmark for console graphics. Really? Unprecedented graphics you say? Well, yeah, that's certainly interesting, except I have a PC. Another thing I couldn't give two hoots about is a remastered version of Gran Turismo 6 running in 1080p at 60 frames per second. I'm not hostile to the idea or anything, I just don't care enough about cars to be excited for it. And I couldn't be any less excited about a CGI teaser trailer for God of War 4 with snippets of gameplay. Not unless you pumped me full of horse tranquilizers and dressed me up like Kratos. I've illustrated this bit with a selection of clips from random God of War titles though, don't ask me which ones, they all look the same to me. God of War, more like God of Snore. Unless they ditch that angry Spartan bollocks and do one set in ancient mythological Egypt. Because I've always wanted to fight the sun god Ra on his flying boat as it pulls the sun across the heavens. And not just in video games. In other stuff I can't be asked to care about, Quantic Dream has a trailer ready to be slotted into the presentation in case Microsoft go heavy on the CG in their own presentation earlier in the day. No word on what it'll be, but we can probably expect at least another glimpse of Quantic Dream's patented old man technology. Now with all that dull guff out of the way, I can now talk about stuff that genuinely interests me. Assuming any of it is true, of course. First up is a new title from Media Molecule, creators of Little Big Planet and Tearaway, designed to be a showcase for Sony's Project Morpheus VR headset, featuring 3D world building and beautiful visuals, according to DualShockers' source. And that's all we really know right now, but it's still enough to get me interested. Japan studio and From Software's Project Beast, details of which leaked last week, is also down to make its debut and not a moment too soon. Even I can't keep looking at these blurry screenshots forever, and with nothing else to go on, I'll just have to keep reusing this footage of me fighting Ruined Sentinels in Dark Souls 2. While Project Beast will most likely be a PS4 exclusive, part of me still kind of secretly hopes it will also come to PC with cross-platform play. Now don't laugh, Sony and Valve did it with Portal 2 on the PS3, so it's totally possible. Incredibly unlikely, but possible. I'd really like to play it on my PC. Please? And speaking of beasts, a retooled version of The Last Guardian by Team Ico is also on Sony's E3 announcement list, with a release date of winter 2014. And about bloody time too. The Last Guardian started development in 2007, was officially announced at E3 2009, and originally scheduled for release on PS3 in 2010. Its agonisingly long development process, peppered with rumours of cancellation, has gone beyond even a running joke. Yet watching the original PS3 trailer even now still sends a little shiver up my spine. Of course, with this being a Team Ico game, you just know the Griffin creature's gonna die at the end. Or the boy dies at the end. Or they both die. Like, the boy dies and then the Griffin creature buries him on a lonely mountaintop somewhere and then lies down on his grave like Greyfriars Bobby, and that's just my way. There are lots of other bits in this leaked list, far too many to go into here, so I've included a link to the DualShockers article in the description below, because I'm nice like that. And I'm afraid that's all I've got for this episode of Pixel Burn. If you still liked it, however, then please do let me know, and let your friends, family and assorted creatures know as well. At the very least, I hope you found it tolerable. And if you didn't like it, well, you can take some solace in the fact that I physically suffered this week. Either way, you can go now.